Welcome to the Virtual Strategic Solutions Virtual Reality Simulation System. Accessing Legacy Dataset. Files loaded, simulation ready. These two neighboring homesteads were once the residences of two diametrically opposed neighbors, Larry and Sandra. Larry had taken to experimental methods of farming, using advanced horticultural techniques supplemented with additional automated aid from several utility protectrons. The crown piece to his success was his experiments into a growth supplement for his crops that yielded results almost immediately by doubling their volume and growth rate to harvest. However, while Larry's growth formula was succeeding, his neighbor Sandra was becoming weary of his experiments. Sandra was a proper Luddite, completely opposed to the use of technology and having a strong distaste for any of it being near her. Watoga's city of the future in viewing distance was bad enough, but to have such technology in her own backyard was a step too far. Not too long before Larry began having success with his growth formula, Sandra began spying on Larry's work and property. Larry noticed this, but could not do anything to stop it, as Sandra would quickly escape by ducking back into the nearby woods. However, having seen where Larry distilled his growth formula, Sandra formulated a plan to sabotage his experiments by spiking his irrigation water with barrels of toxin she had stored on her farm. This plan required more spying on Larry to get into his lab. Sandra watched Larry with binoculars from the woods and wrote down the numbers she had seen him input on his keypad. This took several attempts, but eventually Sandra obtained the full key code and began toxifying Larry's irrigation water supply. Immediately, Larry started noting negative results from his formula that was previously producing nothing but growth. Larry correctly hypothesized that Sandra was the cause, but before anything could be done, the Great War erupted, transforming Appalachia and the Cranberry Bog. While Larry and Sandra are long since perished by 2103, Larry's formula would find new life stimulating the growth of strangler plants, the only known wild growth of stranglers outside of the Maya. The neighboring homesteads consist of two homesteads, Larry's homestead to the north and Sandra's homestead to the south. The homesteads are further divided by a dried-out river between them. Larry's homestead consists of a single house with a greenhouse and several trailers stacked atop another. Larry's skeleton can be found in the lower layer. Protectrons patrol the homestead, still performing maintenance. Larry's lab is here and needs a one-time specific code that can be gleaned from KeyPass notes and the backup data entry on Larry's terminal. Alternatively, one can use precise jumps to get around the keypad door as the roof of the lab is destroyed. Sandra's home is not far from Larry's and has some antiquated farming equipment and a single picker-up truck sloping into a gully. Sandra's home is completely destroyed from a gully appearing, with a picklock level 2 safe that has fallen in it, but Sandra's barn is still standing. Inside the barn are several dozen barrels of toxin, clearly used during the feud, and a small staircase to a work area. Sandra's skeleton can be found in the tractor by the barn doors. There's also a nearby work shed with a weapons workbench.